Are you getting a lot of offers to play shows for free? As a working musician, this can be quite challenging and frustrating. We're talking about shows that you don't get paid for on the podcast today. Are they a good idea? We'll see on the inside. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Songwriters Planner podcast. Thank you for swinging by. I really appreciate that. If this is your first time here, welcome. I definitely love doing these podcasts, and I try to touch on issues that challenge us as musicians and artists. I am a drummer myself. I am also the creator of the Songwriters Planner, which, if you have not had a chance to check that out, it is a 6-month planner specifically designed for artists and musicians to help you stay organized, be more productive, and stay inspired. Please check it out if you get a chance on my website, songwritersplanner.com. And I also wanted to say that my podcast is also on Spotify and iTunes. So if you have accounts on any of those streaming services, you can find this podcast there and catch all the latest episodes. I release these podcasts once a week, and I am thankfully been consistent with it. So thank goodness to that. And just thanks for swinging by, you guys. Today's topic is something that I think a lot of artists deal with from time to time. Now, if you're serious about doing music, and if you're serious about creating a career in music for yourself, there is an issue of money, getting paid to play gigs, right? Now, we all, if you're, like I was saying, if you're a really serious working musician, you definitely need to deal with this aspect of your career, especially if you're a full-time person, because I know a lot of full-timers out there, and it is all about getting that gig. And if you're doing it for your livelihood, it is really, really important that these are issues that you have to deal with. Now, getting paid is an important aspect of that. Now, you can also be in a band situation. If you're in a band and you guys play gigs and you get paid for them, that's great. That's also a standard situation. But what about the gigs that you get offered where they aren't going to pay you? And, I bring up the dreaded exposure gig, right? I don't know how many memes you've seen on the internet of that, but it's called the exposure gig. And you've probably been heard about that gig before. I'm sure I have. And basically what it is the person says, hey, I want you to play this gig. And you say, how much does it pay? And they say, well, it doesn't pay anything, but you'll get great exposure. I don't know. That's kind of a running joke with musicians. So exposure gigs, right? They're all over the place. So today on the podcast, we're talking about this challenge that we have as artists and musicians. What do you do with gigs where they aren't going to pay you? Are they a good idea if you're seriously trying to make money and make a career out of music? Are they a good idea to take gigs where they aren't paying you? What scenarios out there warrant you to take a gig where you're not going to get paid? Okay, now I'm here to say that not all gigs, not all shows are created equal. And you probably know that. There are different reasons why we take certain gigs. Sometimes they sound great, like, oh yeah, there's going to be tons of people there. It's going to be a lot of, faces and ears, eyes and ears on you. There's other reasons why you would get offered a gig where you wouldn't get paid. So we're going to talk about those today and go through the reasons why this could be a good idea. Now, I'm not crazy, but it is possible where some scenarios where you don't have to get paid. Maybe that's not the main reason why you take the gig. Okay. So challenges all of us. And that's what we're talking about today on the podcast. So thank you for swinging by. So we're going to jump into it. Okay. For now, this kind of reaches out to you musicians out there and artists who are currently playing shows and you are getting paid. It may not be a lot, or maybe it is a lot. And if it is, that's great for you. But what do you do when you get offered these shows where you're not going to get paid any money? What kinds of shows are these? So let's look at that. Gigs, how about gigs where you're doing a gig for charity? Okay. These are really good opportunities to meet new people, to get your music heard. You're doing a showcase of shows, and you're on a list you're on a schedule with a bunch of other bands, and you're doing it for a charity. This is a really good reason to take a gig, especially if it's the kind of charity that you may feel personal about. Maybe it's a cancer benefit, maybe it's a charity for underprivileged schools or something like that. Just really good causes where you doing the gig is getting you, of course, quote unquote exposure, but it's also putting you in a really good light, and that you'll probably meet a lot of people in these kinds of gigs because it's a good cause. You want to pick the charity gigs that are a good cause, and more importantly, that you feel really, really strongly about. Those are great gigs to take for free where you're not going to get paid. But the connections and the networking and just the overall good vibes that you will get as an artist out of doing something like that is a really good idea to consider. So sometimes if you get offered a gig like that, I'm not saying you have to take all opportunities that come across to you like that. Not all of them are going to fit for you. But if you do find one and you do get offered one that you do feel very connected with, I would definitely highly recommend taking that gig, doing the charity gig for free, and just saying, hey, thank you for the opportunity. Anything I can do to support this cause is a great idea. Okay, that would be a really good idea to take a show where you're doing it for free. I've done gigs in the past where some people have fallen on hard times, or someone got into a medical emergency and the family needs, help. Those kinds of fundraising gigs are so important for you to take part in, not because of just for gigs for you, but because it says that you care about things other than just you playing your music. Okay, so that's a great idea. Remember, on top of all these things that I'm going to talk about today, you are running a business. This is a business, and if you do make money on it, great. But not all businesses are all about the money, and that's why we're talking about gigs where you don't necessarily have to get paid. So that would be one gig. The charity gig is a great cause. Another reason why you would want to take a show or do a gig is because it could be a media gig. All right, maybe you're doing a radio spot, or maybe you're doing a gig where you're doing a morning show television or something like that. You get offered to do a media gig. Those are obviously not gigs that you would expect to get paid for. And if you do get offered these gigs, please don't ask to be paid, because that's something that these kinds of gigs where you're getting radio or you're getting TV or something like that, those are really helpful to you because they will help you out. They are radiating your music out to audiences that you probably would not be able to connect with otherwise. I got friends here in Phoenix who do the morning show every now and then, and those are really great gigs for them because they'll come on and they'll do a song or two, and the media people are there, the morning show people are there, they love them, and it's just a really good exposure thing. Not only that, but you can also take these shows, these gigs that you do on the media, and you can echo that out on your own social media. That alone is so valuable. So for the media gig, or you're doing it on radio or something like that, these are not gigs where you're going to get paid for, and you shouldn't ask to get paid for them. Take those gigs, take as many as you can, because they will reach fans that you normally wouldn't get. So the media gig, the news gig, the radio gig, the TV gig, super important to take as many of those as you can. No money in them, but the reach is tenfold reach on those kinds of gigs, okay? So that would be another opportunity, another situation where you would not get paid for your show or for your music, but it will help you in the long run if you do that kind of gig, okay? Let's think of another one. How about doing when you get offered a supporting slot on a national show? Let's say a band is coming into town or an artist is coming into town and you get offered to open for this artist. Don't really expect to get paid for those gigs unless you're doing like a ticket sales thing or something like that. But most likely, especially if you get higher up on the bill and you're direct support, these gigs are coveted. A lot of people in bands would die to open up for a lot of national acts that come through. So these gigs, they're not really paying gigs. Maybe you'll get paid. Depends. Every situation is different depending on the club owner, depending on how they feel about it. But in the reality is, as an artist or as a band, don't expect to get paid unless you are selling your own tickets or something like that. These gigs are basically to get you in front of the crowd of the headlining act. And hopefully you can inspire something. Hopefully you can make new fans by doing that. The payoff, again, is much bigger than the money aspect of a gig like this. So opening for a national act. Now, of course, there are different levels of where do you open. If you're the first band opening before 5 bands before the headliner or something like that, then that's a tough decision to make on your part. Do you take that gig? Do you say yes? Do you say no? Are there other reasons to do it? You know you're not going to get paid, but will it put you in the good graces of the club owner so then they can maybe book you again later? These are all things you can think about, and they're usually not money motivated. So definitely think about the offer when you do get a national act offered to you, and hopefully you do, because those are really great gigs, but also consider the value of something like that without the actual money involved. What's the value you can get, and what can you bring to the table, and what are you going to get out of it? Okay. And like everything else, playing a show like that means you're going to have to put in the work to make sure you get people to come to it. But again, it's not about the money. It's about getting out there and getting in front of people that may not know who you are. That's so important, especially in this day and age. So the opening slot, another situation where it would be a good idea to take that gig if it works for you. Okay. All right. We got a couple more here. How about doing open mic nights, especially for you acoustic singer-songwriters, or if you're kind of like a solo act? Open mic nights everywhere. You're not generally going to get paid for these gigs. If you're just starting out, open mic nights are great opportunities to start networking with people, to start getting involved with your musical community. And these are not paying situations. They're just kind of opportunities for you to get up, play some of your songs, or do something that you do, and then meet other singer-songwriters, meet other musicians, network with people. These gigs are just not built to bring in money or for you to get paid. And usually it's just more of a networking situation, which can be just as valuable because it may lead to something else for you. You may meet another club owner. You may meet someone to collaborate with, which can lead to something else. So I really highly suggest open mic nights, especially for you solo artists who either do acoustic or you just kind of do something on your own. These are great gigs for you to get in front of other artists or other people and just connect with them, network, and find out. Maybe you might become a fan of someone else. That's how it works. It works like that. So something to think about. So open mic nights, consider them. Don't expect to get paid from them. But again, they are also very valuable to you as an artist and could lead to bigger, better things down the road. Okay. We got another one here. Another show that you probably can play and don't expect to get paid are legitimate, and I use this word very seriously, legitimate showcases. These are shows where you'll be either playing for, say, a management team or quite possibly some kind of label or some kind of situation where you're showcasing your music for someone or some entity or some team that can maybe help you with your career. You're not really going to get paid for these unless you set it up yourself and you set the show up and you sell tickets and everything. Most likely, if you're doing a showcase show, you are not going to get paid for that because it is an opportunity for you, again, to get your music heard by people who most likely would never have heard you. Now, these kinds of showcase shows are usually done, through management deals or something like that. They're not your typical show. You may not get, you're not going to pull off a showcase show every week, that kind of thing. These are kind of opportunities that happen every now and then. And if you do get a chance to do that and you think it's valuable to you, if you think that you can literally get value out of playing a showcase show, because not all of them are. That's why I say legitimate showcase shows. There's a lot of people out there who will claim that they can get you in front of this person and get your music in front of this person or get you a show with this highly ranked CEO of this label company, okay? Don't fall for all of that. What you want to do is do your research when you get offered something like this and find out, is this going to be a showcase show that is actually legitimate for me? And find out a little bit more about what is going on with that, because you can easily get scammed. I mean, there's so many people that run scams on doing these showcase shows. So watch out for that. Make sure the showcase is legit. Make sure that it is worth your time, because again, you're probably not going to get paid for these, but you do want to make sure that it is very valuable to you in your career. So showcase shows, I mentioned this one last because you never know. Those can get kind of scammy. So you really have to look and to see what your opportunities are for that. But like everything else, it is an opportunity and you learn as you go. Showcase shows are great learning experiences. Whether you come out on top or whether you don't get anything from them, they're still great learning experiences, and they make you a better artist. They really do. So like I said, those are the things I wanted to talk about today in the podcast. Like I said, this is your music. If you're really serious about it, it's a business. It really is a business. As I said before, you're the business owner. Your product is you and your music. So expect to get paid, work it like a business, make money doing it if that's what you want to do. But also remember that there's going to be situations where you're not going to make money. You're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for reasons to get your music heard by many other people, or to get exposed, quote unquote, to audiences who may not know who you are, or like I said, management teams or label people or whatever it is, or other club owners. It's not always about the money, but it is also about opportunities that could lead to bigger, better things for you. So those are the things I wanted to talk about today in today's podcast. There are always other situations, and I know if you can think of other reasons or other shows that you might take for free, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Let me know on my website, songwritersplanner.com. You can hit me up there, Mike at Songwriters Planner, or hit me up on my Facebook page. I like getting messages there and getting this information from you, because I learn from you guys out there what challenges you're seeing, what experiences you guys are going through, and I love to absorb that and share that with other artists, okay? So that is this week's podcast. Thanks again for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all my new listeners. Thank you guys, and we will see you on the next podcast, all right? Go make some money out there. We'll see you later.